Hi folks, it's Amy Posniak, and I just wanted to touch base a little bit with you today about Chapter 5 and the rules that we're going to start to get into. I've had a few minutes to dig into some of the questions that I've had on MindTap, and if you're experiencing issues, please make sure that you contact me so I can get those rectified for you. Chapter 5 here is going to encompass rules 9 and 10, and this one I give you a little bit more time on. This assignment will not be due until February 22nd. And the reason that I do that is because it's got a little bit more to it, and if we need a little time to catch up on the previous chapters, we can continue to do that. I'm going to start with the PowerPoint and a Word document here. We're going to go down a little history lesson lane, but before I do that, I had a few questions about Chapter 4 and some of the cross references. So I wanted to go over those quickly if you were having errors on the 4-1 and etc. When you go into MindTap, there was two parts to that assignment, and on the second half of that assignment, and it had you reorder them, but it gave you all of the cross references that you needed. So make sure that you're looking at all those screens to see any tips and tricks that might be out here. So I want to explain these real quickly. 3x is going to be an encompassing cross-reference for all of the all states dealing with this assignment. So we have a couple of them. One is number 20, and I think the other one is, let's see, there's another one here somewhere. Number 20, and it must be number 3. And the reason that they're doing it with 3 is because that's the first one, and they're just pushing all state together. And even though it's spelled out as 2 words, it can be confusing for many. Next, we have the Heavenly Suites Inc., and that's the 5X cross reference. The reason that is a cross reference because that name is a division of the overall company Heavenly Suites. Next, we get into some of the ones that we've been used to, where we have to deal with all 3 names of a company. So we're going to round robin those, and then we have 2 names here, Anderson and Abbott. So we need to make sure that both of those are cross-referenced, or excuse me, that you're able to get to both names through cross-reference. Again, this is what these will look like. Because this one is an all-encompassing, the 3X, it's going to be a C also as compared to the C. I hope this is helpful, and if you have any questions, please make sure that you're continuing to contact me. On these assignments, I view these as more as another step in your practice to make sure that you can index these. I'm not as concerned about getting them in the right order. That can be difficult when doing that on the screen. One thing that I would probably do is take a snip of when I'm entering it into MindTap and then put that in a Word document, and I would hand kind of do that and then go back to MindTap to enter it. That's just my kind of workflow. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but that's how I would do it. So with that being said, we're in here to look at Chapter 5, and you have 2 jobs due this time. So the report sheets are here. It'll tell you how many cross-references you need and etc. I'm going to take a look at the PowerPoint now. And again, this one is on rules 9 and 10. This gives you a little bit of background for these. These are identical names. And so for that, you're going to sort those records by city name first, then state, street, and house and building number. This is some examples of what this would look like. Let me bump this up for you. Okay. All of these are seaside inns. Then we're going to get into the city, and then we're going to get into the state. That's how you're going to do those. Now let me minimize this a little bit. These are government names, and this is kind of where we go down our history lesson path. If you look in Blackboard, this document is out here, and if it's been a while since you've reviewed local government and federal government, you might want to take a look at this. But again, we want to make sure that we're doing this on a local, state, and federal level. These are the branches of government on the federal level. We have the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, and that may come into play when you're filing. Then we get into our local and city government. This is a kind of diagram of what that might look like. Okay, and then we get into some county and regional governments and what that might look like. Now, because we have all of these amazing systems, everything has a little bit of a different name. Some towns are called towns, some are called townships, this, that, the other. It can get to be a little tricky. So again, we're going to go through some of those filing rules. Here's some rules regarding the state governments, okay, and what that might look like. Federal governments. Now, my brother works for the USDA. He does loans for them, for the Department of Agriculture. And every time I do this section in information management, we kind of go round and round because I'm like, Michael, nobody uses these rules unless you work for the federal government. And he says, Amy, you need to know the rules, and these are good jobs. So I'm just going to go with that. And he enjoys his work, but there are different departments, and then there's different departments within those big departments, like the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture, uh, Department of Labor. All of those things have different departments within them. And this, again, is another visual for you. Okay, and I would tell you to take a look at this. This, again, is out in Blackboard, and it's this one right here. Okay, and come back into PowerPoint here. So for local, we're talking on the basic level here. We're going to look at the name of the county all the way through the village as the first unit. Then you're going to get the most distinctive name. And then after that, of office comes next. All right. And of is never added to the name. So let's review some examples here. All right. These are all counties, cities, you name it. That's the most important piece of the puzzle. You're going to put that there as the key unit. Then we get into the second most part. Now, ofs sometime come at the end. Sometimes they belong in here. And this was the confusing part for me here. Because it's county of, that's why we're putting it there, because that's connected. And then that's the last part of it. So make sure that you're looking at these and getting a good feel for what that should look like. The next rule that we're going to get into will be state governments. Okay, you're going to start with the state, then the most distinctive part, the office, and again, that piece on the of. Here's your state. Here's your next key unit. And then you're going to go down the pike like this. And in these, in most cases, the of is going to come at the end. Next, we get to the federal level and the government names. And this is a little bit different, and this is where it gets tricky. We no longer do individual units. We're doing it in levels or segments. The first level will always be United States government. So all of these are going to be filed in the U's. That's what you want to remember. Then you're going to go with that department or top level agency, and then get all the way down to the bottom here. And here are some great examples of that. Okay, so again, levels, not the key units and all of that. We're going by levels. So the first one will be United States government, okay, and they're just putting that out there. And then we get into level 2 and level 3. So again, everything will be under the U. Don't forget that piece. Getting into the Commerce and then your National Weather Service. And you can see how these will work, and the ofs are coming at the end. Foreign government names get to be a little bit tricky, but what you don't have to worry about is being able to speak a foreign language. They'll all be translated for you, and everything should be pretty well spelled out for you. We can kind of take a little bit of a guess as to what these countries are, but again, the country name will be here, then republic and etc., and the ofs are going to come at the end. Cross-referencing for foreign names and etc. This can be a little tricky. Okay, so this is going to be the real name that we will file it in under the English name, excuse me, how we would see it. But the cross-reference is the foreign name, and you'll go left to right on these. When it comes here to the government names, the same type of thing. This is how we would see it in English. This is how we're going to cross-reference it. Any of these foreign national names, whether it's businesses or countries, you're going to have a cross-reference. Subject titles. It gets better and better. So these are usually key when it comes to applications, bids for projects, etc. And the subject title is the key unit, and then we get into the indexing. So for instance, if I were working down at the front desk at WITC and people were applying for a job, all those applications would go into a folder called applications. Then we would probably have the name of the job that they're going for, and then we would have the name of the applicant. So that's how that one is broken down. Now that's the nuts and bolts of that chapter. Again, we're going to have a couple weeks. I would strongly encourage you to get out there and read the chapter, look at the PowerPoint, and debrief on this a little bit. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me, and we'll go from there. Have a great day.